Hello, this is Gloomy Sunday, and once again, I will be sharing spooky stories that will send shivers down your thorny spine. Without further ado, let's begin tonight's creepy, spooky, and sometimes outlandish array of tales. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. I would like to share a true and long story my mother shared with me and my siblings about her horrific experience with spirits and ghosts back in Thailand. When my mother, Alyssa, and her older sister, Auntie Nora, were very young, they lived with their mother, my grandma, on a small farm far out on the outskirts of the countryside. Her father, my grandpa, had passed away when she was 5 years old. Her mother never remarried because she wanted to ensure my mom and Auntie Nora were loved and cared for. When my mom turned 14 and Auntie Nora turned 16, my grandma fell ill and was dying. Auntie Nora asked my mom to watch over grandma while she traveled to the village to fetch other family members. She told my mom that if grandma passed before they returned, my mom should dress her in the traditional Thai clothing and shoes made for the deceased. The village was a full day's walk away, and my mom was worried grandma wouldn't make it. Sure enough, a few hours after Auntie Nora left, their mother passed away. My mom, heartbroken and terrified, began dressing her mother as instructed. After finishing, she laid her on the bed and sat beside her, holding her hand and crying. As the sun set and darkness swallowed the house, my mom remained by her mother's side. Suddenly, she heard voices from the nearby road. The voices, faint at first, grew louder, as though people were talking and crying. Relieved that someone might have arrived, she ran to the door and opened it, only to find no one there, just the darkness whispering back. Abruptly, the voices stopped. A wave of cold fear washed over her, and she quickly shut the door. Backing away, she glanced at her mother's lifeless body, which hadn't moved, but she was now too afraid to return to her side. The voices started again, louder and closer to the house. It felt as though unseen eyes were watching her through every crack in the walls and door. Panicked, she climbed into the attic, clutching herself as she listened to the eerie cries and whispers outside. Suddenly, a strange male voice began humming a chilling song, and for the first time, she could clearly understand the words.
My mother has died, so come home, my child. My mother has died. So only my daughter remains.
Trembling, my mom cried quietly, uncertain of what would happen next. Minutes stretched into hours. Mustering courage, she peeked from the attic to check if anyone, or anything, had entered the house. That's when she saw it. The door slowly creaked open, and something resembling a dog walked in on 4 legs. It approached her mother's body, reached out with its arm, and pulled the chair where my mom had been sitting. The creature sat on the chair, upright like a human. My mom's stomach churned as her eyes adjusted to the dim light. She saw it more clearly now, a grotesque figure with features that were neither fully human nor fully animal. Frozen with terror, she watched as cold air swept through the room. Silence engulfed her, and she stifled her sobs, terrified that any sound might draw the thing's attention. Her body eventually gave in to the fear, and she fainted. At dawn, she regained consciousness. Looking down from the attic, she saw the creature rise from the chair, push it back into place, and walk out of the house, this time on 2 legs, like a human. As soon as it left, she climbed down the ladder and ran outside, desperate to escape. A few miles down the road, she heard her mother's voice calling her name, begging her to wait. Terrified, my mom collapsed to her knees and screamed,
Please, please! Mom! Dad! Hear me, please. Why? Why are you both doing this to me? Are you not ashamed? You are no longer living. You should guide us, not torment us like this. Look at yourself. You're dead. Hide yourself. Be ashamed.
Suddenly, everything went silent. The oppressive atmosphere lifted. My mom continued running until she encountered two farmers she knew. She told them everything, and they accompanied her back to the house to wait for Auntie Nora and the others to return. After my grandma was buried, my mom and her sister moved to the village to live with their uncle. To this day, my mom cries whenever she recounts her terrifying story. Some believe that ghosts are actually demons in disguise. Those entities, demons, oftentimes come to us in the form of your lost loved ones. I know that because of mainstream entertainment and media, we are often desensitized to the existence of the supernatural, but the scripture says that once we pass from this world, we are put in a place of waiting, a holding cell, anticipating our final judgment before God. That would indicate that our spirit doesn't have free rein to wander around, but demons have roamed the earth since the beginning of recorded time. Genesis chapter 6 verse 4 reads as follows: "The Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. The same were the mighty men that were of old, the men of renown." But what do you believe? Let's read another story. I have a friend who works at a funeral home. She cleans, vacuums, and mops the place to get it ready for the next funeral. One night she was mopping and was getting the place ready for a funeral that was going to take place early the next day. After vacuuming the floor, she went to the bathroom to mop there, but when she opened the door to go in, she saw a lady washing her feet in the toilet. The lady turned and looked at her. She didn't think much of it. She thought it must have been someone that was still there from the last funeral. She continued cleaning. The next morning she came back to do a little more cleaning, just the ones she didn't finished. When she got there, she saw all these people coming and going from the funeral home. She went downstairs to take out the garbage she hadn't taken out the night before and a little of other thing. After almost 3 hours there, when she was finally finished and was about to leave, a guy came to her and asked if she was the janitor there. She said yes. He told her someone tipped over some flowers upstairs. They had already picked up all the flowers, but there are still little puddles on the floor. She said she'll go vacuum it quick since she was leaving. She got the vacuum out and went upstairs to vacuum. While she was vacuuming, she saw the dead body laying on the floor with people sitting around it. That was weird, but continued vacuuming. After she was done, she walked by the dead body. Being curious, she took a peek at the dead body's face and was shocked to see who it was. It was the lady she had seen in the bathroom washing her feet last night. After that she quit that job. The experience of sensing the presence of someone who has died is sometimes referred to as a bereavement hallucination. A hallucination is usually defined as a perceptual experience of something that is not really there. Let's do one other story. This story actually has a photo along with it, which I will show right now. It all started when my son came home from our uncle's funeral. As soon as he walked through the door, something about him seemed off. He looked weird. Half of his face was darker than usual, shadowed in a way that didn't seem natural. I immediately felt a strange unease, a gut feeling that something was wrong. It was late at night, and I kept seeing something black. Something kept peeking in and out from the corner of my hallway. It didn't move, it just stood there, partially hidden in the shadows. I took one glance, and then I saw it clearly, a face and an arm extending out, waving up and down. It looked like a man. A wave of cold dread washed over me. I screamed. And in an instant, the figure pulled back, retreating towards my room. My older boys rushed out, but they didn't see anything. I did not think of anything during that time, but thought we were getting robbed. I thought someone had came in from the garage. They started searching the house, looking for signs of a break-in. That's when we saw the dirt scattered across my bathroom floor, almost like footprints came from the toilet. But here's the strange part. There's no sand like that around our house. We only have the fine, pale sand typical of beaches. The footprints looked like it had entered through my bathroom window, but my window was about a foot wide only. I also had a stopper and the window was cracked open a few inches too. It was also too small for anyone to slip through, so it couldn't have been a robber. When we couldn't find an actual person, that's when I knew it was something else. My mother ended up coming over and tied red strings for us. She swept the dirt and took it with them to throw it far away. This wasn't the first time I'd seen it popped up, but never to this extent. It was such a scary experience. It is believed the dirt from the story was the dirt from the grave of the spirit that attached to the son from the funeral. I hope you enjoyed our spooky and strange stories. Join us next time for more. Take care and boo-bye.